Doing a first to 50. Please, please bear with us.
Round one.
Alright.
Ready, go!
Oh.
I think I have to hit it first.
Oh no! See, one little hit.
Knockout. Round two. Ready,
Lying, I've been practicing this some time. Cause I'm just, I'm gonna be gutted. Oh. I don't know what property Jeffrey gets me. Does that little come on thing.
I'll tell you, but I don't actually know myself all that.
Rob. Rob. I'll accept it, but I was robbed.
Oh, you're robbed, absolutely.
round one. Ready, go!
One of the things I want to do that jumping flying kick, and once I start using it, I've got to stop using it because I don't want to get used to it. Oh, my back.
Round two. Ready, go!
Oh, nice. Ooh. I didn't hit you.
Knockout.
Oh.
Round three. Ready, go! Knockout.
It's just a gamble. The last bit. He tucked it.
I'm the world's strongest! Round one. Ready, go!
Oh,
I'm tired of
you
that.
dropped it, yeah.
Yeah, I pressed the wrong button.
Ooh, that was. I was punching your knees.
Knockout.
Oh,
Round 4. Ready, go!
I dropped my combo. Ooh,
Knockout.
you almost had me with that grab. Oh, one thing to keep in mind is I don't have a low grab at all.
Mm.
So I do some like if I start blocking and ducking, like you can just still grab me low or grab me high. If you block and duck, I have no low grab.
Round 1. Ready, go! Knockout. Round 2. Ready, go!
Oh, perfect.
Knockout. Round 3. Ready, go!
Oh, I hit block. And again.
Knockout.
Yes, that punch I was doing where you get knocked over. I'm supposed to block to stop the combo and then start my
Go!
doing that to you.
Knockout.
What was that?
Yeah, that was bad damage when I actually hit it properly. So it's a shoulder charge. If I get the shoulder charge timing right, I get a grab after as well. Well, no, I've got to press the grab right. I don't mean I
Right
get
time,
a
yeah,
free grab.
Go on, Lightwing. Oh, avenge me. Oh yeah, I need to full screen so I can watch.
Round 1. Ready, go!
Half now.
I'll put it on.
Knockout.
But she's just slightly faster. She's just a faster version. Even that same throw.
Don't
Round
get
2.
Killed, but
Ready, go!
Oh, okay, you sticking with he's playing with the
Knockout.
With the consumer guy.
oh,
Round 3.
Last night, another four.
Ready, go!
It is. It is the reason. I'm already regretting it. tried three games against him already. So. Nice.
Knockout. Round 4. Ready, go!
We're just literally just commenting.
Oh, it's full. Fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Knockout. Round 5. Ready, go! Knockout.
Oh, look, even more for cross than just the guy.
大したことないわね。
That's my inability to close it out. As close as that could have been, really.
Round 1. Ready, go! Knockout.
Yeah, fair enough. That.
Round 2. Ready, go! Knockout. Round 3. Ready, go! Knockout.
I understand. I was crouching.
今日は私の勝ちね。今日は私の勝ちね。
Round 1. Ready, go! Knockout.
No idea what. If that's not a neutral fucking goal.
Round 2. Ready, go!
Okay, that was blocking.
Round 3. Ready, go! Knockout!
No, not this time.
Round 4. Ready, go! Knockout!
Nice.
I'm the world's strongest! Round 1. Ready, go! Knockout! Round 2. Ready, go! Knockout! Round 3. Ready, go! Knockout! Round 1. Ready, go!
Ooh, okay. When do you think you
Knockout!
I really wish both of those games
Round 2.
or on like a
Ready,
console.
go!
Obviously, 3DS was the main thing.
Knockout!
I went for a grab. I went for a grab and
Round 3.
I think
Ready, go!
なたにはクンフーが足りないわ。あなたにはクンフーが足りないわ。
I'll grab some water. I'll be right back. Back. Oh, I like when it's taking a break. That's the cool thing in the lobby. You can just set so you either you put yourself to the bottom
Round 1.
or you
Ready,
can just, take a break.
go! Knockout! Round 2.
It's probably not even a lot of
Ready,
damage, but I mean,
go!
like, when you take them out.
It requires setup because I can't just go into stance. I have to do something to get into it. Oh my god. It's still, oh my god, it's still going. Oh,
Wow.
it's finished.
That was
Finish.
like
Oh, wow.
everything that just went right for me that
I
round.
won't clip that. That's it.
Jeez.
Oh.
Bye. No, no, get him out of here. I wanted you. Okay, you're still gone. I wanted you out. I wanted you out of that half fence.
Round 4. Ready, go!
Oh my god. That would have ended the game.
Well, at least very close.
I always do my move where if I hit you in the next combination, I get free for hours. And it's like one of his most damaging moves.
Round 1. Ready, go!
Ooh.
Knockout! Round 2. Ready, go! Knockout! Round 3. Ready, go! Round 1. Ready, go! Knockout!
Yep, it'll be a
Round
great time
2.
once I learn them.
Ready, go!
Oh, I don't like when there's no walls. Left foot on Two throws back to back.
Knockout. Round 3. Ready, go!
So I think it's the punches.
Knockout.
The high backflip. The backflip is scarily. It is actually my safest option.
I'm pretty sure I can launch it like I just did.
Round 1. Ready, go!
I mean, like all three are punchable, but it's the safest one to do.
I mean, I'd probably just say like it's not safe if I can just launch it, you know.
I mean, like if you were to block it and not, or like, if I get the hit itself.
Yeah, but it's still like if I'm ready, I launch it.
If I go low and if you block that, again, punishable. If I go high and you duck it, punishable. Oh.
What deserve it?
Didn't do it. That wasn't good damage.
Fucking hell. Okay.
So that charge hit always gets you in my. It's just like the edge of the sweep range if you get knocked back.
What? Wow.
Round 4. Ready, go! Excellent.
Okay.
Round 5. Ready, go!
That's the launch, man. Come on. Yeah, it's like I'm doing the hard part, but I'm not. It's not connected to launch you for your mistake. It's like I want it to be, but it's not. Yeah.
Round 1. Ready, go! Knockout. Round 2. Ready, go!
Oh.
Knockout.
Cool.
Round 3. Ready, go!
Forget. There's another way for me to tell.
Round
I don't
1.
think not the point where I can
Ready,
do that,
go!
I was like completely backwards. It might just be backwards. Oh, just stand backwards throw. Like you do it.
but I
like when you do like you do a throw, but then you got to do another throw within the throw.
Knockout. Round 2. Ready, go! Knockout.
Oh, that's punchable.
Round 3. Ready, go! Knockout.
Let me try.
I've got grace and power. You've
Okay,
got
more
zip.
I'm hungry all of a sudden, and yeah, I probably should like try and settle for bed, I guess. So I'll do 2 more sets.
Round 1. Ready, go! Knockout. Round 2. Ready, go!
Don't think that was a tank.
I think you did. You both hit damage from the very last bit.
Knockout. Round 3.
Mad Wolf isn't OP. I wish he was. Maybe he is. I don't know. Oh.
Knockout.
I thought the low was coming, and then it didn't. Kinda.
Round 4. Ready, go! Knockout.
What even happened?
I don't know. That was
So
weird.
I sidestepped and then did the 360 going for the grab.
Go!
Oh, you just missed.
Round 1. Ready, go! Knockout! Round 2. Ready, go! Knockout!
Oh, nice, nice.
Round 3. Ready, go! Knockout! Round 4. Ready, go! Knockout!
You'll never be a match for me.
Round 2. Ready, go! Knockout! Round 3. Ready, go!
Round 1. Ready, go! Knockout! Round 2. Ready, go!
Your just really way better than mine.
Knockout! Round 3.
Where I stand.
Ready, go! Knockout! Round 4. Ready, go!
Oh my god, are you I'm just not allowed to.
Knockout!
I'm trying to attack, I swear.
Round 5. Ready, go! Knockout!
That wasn't your best shot.
Can't start something.
Round 1. Ready, go!
Oh, I thought.
Knockout! Round 2. Ready, go!
That should have gone stone while you're down. You need to wake up on the screen. I can't.
Knockout! Round 3. Ready, go! Excellent! Round 4. Ready, go! Knockout! Round 5. Ready, go! Knockout!
So I dropped my jab.
I got no
combo.
time for you.
No combo, just to reset.
Okay, I deserve it.
Oh!
Yeah.
Oh. Isn't there more excitement when you're near the edge of the map?
Excitement, that's the word.
More excitement, okay? Don't get that in Tekken. Street Fighter. Getting Soul Calibur, yeah.
Just no.
Based on my health, I'm happy over here.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. Because I didn't want to get flipping ringed out. Okay, barely did not drop that in time.
Easy.
I can't do what, yeah, I mean, literally, I stole 2 rounds from you doing that. I'm like, I can't.
I accept those rounds. I accept because I should have just teched it.
Oh, I mean, you're fine with accepting it. I have to accept it because it's part of the game, but I'm not trying to have it happen to me.
I'm just curious how the stages for the next game are going to be like.
They're probably gonna be like well, they're gonna be like they're not gonna like not have rig outs. Like no. Oh, fine. Yeah, I pushed myself. I did a defensive.
Round 2.
That's fine.
Ready, go!
Oh, the range on that kick just almost.
Round 3.
I cannot believe that.
Knockout.
Fine.
Oh.
Fine. Get it.
Yeah, that was cheap now because some characters have like if you press K punch, kick, and grab at the same time. Block, sorry. You can't do a move. But his one is just a single jab, and I don't have to reset the combo because it does
Just
it
have
for
to
itself.
do a defensive move at the right time. That's GG.
Round 1. Ready, go!
Oh, how have I done that?
Knockout. Round 2. Ready, go! Knockout. Round 3. Ready, go!
No! Enough, is it enough? Just...
Knockout. Round
No,
4.
it wasn't like that one round where
Ready,
you had like
go!
full health, and I was like very healthy, and you just like
Yo, Jay. Yeah, man. I'm sorry. How you doing?
just read what you wrote. Wait, what's your
Knockout.
work schedule for the week?
It's Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, I think.
You'll never be a match for me.
Yeah, because I had Saturday off, so Saturday.
Oh, I slept too late. I'm trying to go follow.
Ready, go!
Wait for down punch as well.
I got away with that, I will happily admit it.
Ready,
Oh.
Sure.
Oh. It looked like he threw it. He's like, oh no.
That is nuts.
GG.
GG's. Right, sleep time for me. Yay! I avenged myself.
No point. Let me check. How many hours have you put into this game?
I mean, the bulk of them have definitely been from today. I assure you that much.
How do I check? 12 hours, yeah. So 12 hours. So I've put also like probably like 12 hours on PC version, but on PlayStation version, I've put in I reckon a good like I don't know, 150 to 200 hours.
Just all depends on how you spend the time, I guess. Like I've spent the time on one character, just one character, trying to learn things. That's it. Like I've not done anything else. But otherwise, I'm gonna bow out for the night finally. Like 2 hours after I was originally considering it, and then was like, I'm enjoying myself. And yeah, I really was. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you're new to the stream and enjoy what you saw, please consider following. That said, I'll look for someone who I can raid into. Thanks, guys.
Nah. You stay away from me, Crispy. You stay away from me. Holy shit!
Round one. Ready, go! Knockout! Round two. Ready, go! Knockout! Round three. Ready, go! Knockout! Round four. Ready, go! Knockout! Round five. Ready, go! Excellent!
I've got grace and power. You've got zip.
Round one. Ready, go! Knockout! Round two. Ready, go! Knockout! Round three. Ready, go! Knockout!
Hello and welcome to GameSack. Time to take a look at more games that push the limits of the consoles they run on, make them absolutely choke. Actually, this series is more about some cool things that games do via either programming trickery or simply some really good optimization. And this first game gets mentioned in many such discussions, but I've never had it in this series before because I suck at playing it. It's time to finally mention Burning Rangers on the Saturn in this series. It's no secret that I don't particularly enjoy playing it. In fact, I've only been past the first stage once since I bought it when it was released, as I usually just kind of get bored playing it. This time though, I cheated using some pro action replay codes. And you know what? This is honestly the most fun I've ever had with this game in the 20 plus years I've owned it. I could concentrate on finding my way through the mazes and rescuing people without having to worry about time, crystals, or life. These digital bits have never been read off of the CD or processed by my Saturn before this. It also means that I can show you more examples of the programming wizardry that happens here. Don't get me wrong though, the game is still wonky as hell and it features some of the worst swimming controls I've experienced in a 3D title. Anyway, you're an anime firefighter and you collect crystals and then use them to teleport people out of burning structures.
Calm down, it's okay.
Yeah, calm down. Stop being alive. Oh wait, I'm not sure that you are. Oh, silly loading times. The game only has 4 levels, and it probably needs a bunch more, even though these levels are each pretty damn big. A game doesn't have to be fantastic to do some impressive things on a technical level, though. And honestly, the graphics don't even have to be particularly good either, even if it's the graphics that are pushing the hardware. Allow me to explain. The title screen gives you a good idea of what you're in for, as it has lighting that's moving around. In fact, this game features a lot of dynamic lighting, which is
Round
quite
one.
impressive for the Saturn.
Ready,
it's often directional,
go!
coming from the direction of a fire or whatever else is lighting things up. It even emits light in various colors, which, once again, is fairly rare on the Saturn. They use this feature to make many parts of the game extremely colorful. Come on, there's a lot of color, and I don't need enough. In fact, this is probably the best lit game, at least in
Round
terms
two.
of this kind of lighting.
Ready?
Sometimes
Go!
the color goes out in the game just to show off the lighting effect where it only comes from you. This makes the gameplay a bit tougher when this happens because you can't really see much, obviously, but fortunately it doesn't happen too often, mainly in the first stage. Moreover, this game even has some transparency. We all know the Saturn cannot do transparencies, so they had to resort to actual witchcraft. Mainly the fires that you encounter are transparent, and you'll encounter a lot since this is a game about an anime firefighter.
Knockout!
There are also some other transparencies, like in this water tank and whatnot.
Round 3.
So overall, it's pretty
Ready?
cool that they were able
Go!
to do all of these things. It's just too bad that the sum of these parts isn't very great. I mean, despite the impressive effects, the graphics are still quite glitchy with clipping, jitter, extreme warping, and pop-up everywhere. And look at this weird outline man around the character in front of the transparent tank. What is up with that? Sometimes things that should be rendered behind something appear in front of it, like with this shape here. And it should go without saying that the performance is pretty bad, running at a less than ideal frame rate with the camera that's, you guessed it, wonky. Honestly, I think this game was ahead of its time on the Saturn. It's too ambitious for the hardware, but damn,
Round
they
4.
sure tried, didn't they?
Ready?
Yes,
Go!
they certainly did, and I can respect that. If you want to see how a Dreamcast game would run on the Saturn, I think this game gives you a pretty good idea of just that.
Tell us there's a large energy reading. Watch yourself.
Knockout!
I can't believe I've never talked about Akumajo Dracula X Chino Rondo or Castlevania Rondo of Blood in this series before. This Konami title for the PC Engine Super CD never left Japan in its own time, but of course there are many different ways to play localized versions of this game today. Everyone already knows that this is one of the best Castlevania games ever made, but one of the things that makes it so impressive is just how far it pushes the limits of the system. I mean, this is pretty much what we expected from the TurboGrafx 16. It only has a single background layer, and overall the graphics seem simplistic compared to what we saw on the Genesis. But Konami says, screw you guys, we're pulling out all of the stops here. Nearly every stage has some form of parallax scrolling, and usually it's the overlapping kind. Sure, the non-overlapping kind is still good and appreciated, but it definitely takes less effort. 2 layers is cool and all, but how about 3 overlapping layers of scrolling? The mighty TurboGrafx 16 rules.
Round 1.
The boss fights are always a sight to
Ready?
behold as
Go!
well. Tons of animations and lots of thought put into their design. That's more art design than anything technical though, but I still wanted to mention it so I can feel like it has more substance and therefore more impressive. But even many of the common stage enemies are super impressive. Look at these giant rock dudes. What do they do for fun? Do they have to pay taxes? What's their
Ring
deal?
out!
The effects that this game pulls off totally blew me away back when it came out. All
Round 2.
forms without
Ready?
a hit. Maybe a
Go!
bit of gear or a tiny amount of slowdown there, but it's doesn't happen often. I couldn't believe my TurboGrafx CD-ROM was doing all of this when I first played this game back in 1993. It really lets you know how much of a beast this console actually is.
Coldest day of the year.
Knockout!
I'm Dr. Peter White, investigative
Round
reporter.
3.
We find Colin on this
Ready?
winter's night
Go!
rewatching goals his team has conceded. All the while, ignoring his own. Instead of partying under the Dubai stars, Colin's watching football under his blanket. Why do I bother?
Knockout! Round 4. Ready? Go!
This next game, I've never even played until now. You know what? I've never played it. This is Exo Squad on the Genesis from Playmate and Novatrade, based on a little-known cartoon. These are the companies behind Earthworm Jim and Echo the Dolphin, respectively. What could go wrong? Well, actually, just about everything. This game does attempt plenty of special effects.
Knockout!
First are the stages with the Space Harrier style of gameplay. The screen slightly rotates around as you move. A couple of this guy's stages even have some parallax scrolling in the distance if you look closely. And that's right, both layers are rotating. The side view stages offer many layers of scrolling, though sometimes it scrolls into the foreground and obstructs the player. There's also one-on-one fighting stages that offer some cool-looking multi-jointed sprite animation. Even the intro screens are cool, like this Sega logo here. The Playmates logo looks like it has scaling, but it's just clever sprite movement. And honestly, that's about it for the impressive stuff. Now for the depressive stuff. You play as 3 different characters and each has their own gameplay style. The 28-year-old guy who looks 47 has the Space Harrier stages. The younger dude has the walking side-scrolling stages. And the girl has the one-on-one fighting game stages. The variety would be welcome if any one of these aspects were done well, but none are. You are way too big in the Space Harrier stages. How are you supposed to avoid anything? It also makes these stages play so twitchy. Who would enjoy this? I can't think of a single person who would. The one-on-one fighting stages have probably the second worst fighting in a game ever, right ahead of Slaughter Sport, also known as Tongue of the Fat Man or Mondu's Fight Palace. The side-scrolling stages are the best, but that doesn't mean that they're good. You have to press left to crouch. Yeah, because that feels natural. In both of the ground-based stages, the control is so slow to respond and animate that it actually makes playing the game more of a chore. Between the stages, you get cutscenes that look like they're drawn with art alive. They didn't try very hard with these. The music is almost okay sometimes. Perhaps the most impressive thing about the gameplay is that someone okayed this, gave it the go, and actually released it like this. I don't recommend this one at all, and there's a reason nobody ever talks about it. But now you're aware of the special effects that it pulls off thanks to my suffering through it. And suffer I did. This is Toy Story Racer for the Game Boy Color from Activision and Tiertex. This was on the show not too terribly long ago, and good games from bad companies or whatever the hell I called that episode. And generally, this one can be an enjoyable racing game, and enjoyable is not a word usually associated with a Tiertex product. Basically, you choose your favorite character from the entire Toy Story universe. Well, the ones that they let you choose from anyway. You then race through the house or even the neighborhood. What you want to do in this game is win these races. So anyway, this game is pretty impressive on a technical level for the Game Boy Color. It's basically streaming FMV, or full motion video, of the racetracks which have all been pre-rendered with cutting-edge computer animation. Because of that, the race sways left and right on the screen rather than you remaining centered and the environment moving around you like in most racing games. It's a similar way to, say, Mega Race if you're familiar with that. Mega Race is on the Sega CD though, where full motion video is expected by everyone. This is a Game Boy Color game, and need I remind you that it's a portable system that uses cartridges.
Ready, go!
Megabits, the same size as Street Fighter II on the Super Nintendo. The video stays here at about 10 frames per second. Racers and items are sprites laid on top of that video. The frame rate slow down if you slow down for any reason, and that's really the only way the game can get slower speed.
Ready,
to me, it's amazing that they were able to fit several tracks, all of the game sprites, and the game program itself into honestly not very much memory. It's not like the H.264 or codecs back then, nor does the Game Boy Color have anywhere near the horsepower to decode anything like that. Instead, it's done the old-fashioned way, by reducing the amount of screen it takes up and the amount of color. You'll notice that the HUD is on the top and the bottom of the screen, so that's some screen real estate that the video doesn't need to worry about covering. Also, usually there are only about 6 colors on the track to show at any given time, but sometimes it can go as high as 8 colors. Next, the entire track isn't one long video. Instead, each track is made up of several different track parts put together to make it feel like one single long track. By doing it this way, it makes the track feel longer and more varied than it actually is. Kudos to Teartex for impressing the hell out of me with this with the Game Boy Color. And like I said, this game can be kind of fun as well, so maybe give it a try. Also on the Game Boy Color is Cannon Fodder from Codemasters. This is a point-and-click overhead run-and-gun game. Yes, that's a thing. It's clearly designed to be played with a mouse, but surprisingly, it works okay using a D-pad. You move the cursor around to point your soldiers where you want them to go, and then press a button to make them start moving. You press the other button to fire in that direction. You have 2 soldiers which represent your hit points. You can keep going if one of them gets hit, but if both of them die, you get sent back. There are a lot of voices that play back during the game, and you don't hear voices a lot on the Game Boy Color. Not only that, but the music is sampled recordings as well. It doesn't sound, great or anything, but it's still pretty impressive that they did it. But what's really impressive about this one is the intro. It's another title that has full motion video on a Game Boy Color.
Round 1!
It certainly helps that this game has 32 mega power, twice as much as Toy Story Racer, so there's probably more video than just this thing. Pretty cool. Please be impressed.
You honed your negotiation skills and
Round 2.
smashed the interview.
Ready,
In fact,
go!
the CEO offered you their job, whilst you did the hire. There's more to imagine when you listen. Discover career development tips on Audible. Subscription required. See audible.co.uk for terms.
Okay, let's take a quick look at something that always blew me away back in the 8-bit days. That's right, voices.
Knockout!
Really, it seemed so futuristic to me back then, but
Round 3!
probably just dumb.
Ready, go!
Kind of them, I guess. I've covered between NES voice samples in the series before, like those in Skate or Die 2 from the last run. But let's check out some more vocal examples from the console that would have made me super jealous back in the day as someone who was so proud of his Sega Master System.
Made your bum knockout!
Like this one, which is called The Adventures of R.E.V.O. It's
Round
from
4.
Activision and Interplay.
Ready,
In this one,
go!
there's a Bruce Campbell-looking guy who needs to go to different cities on different planets throughout the solar system. He'll be collecting and using items as you progress through various levels. If you can defeat the final boss, which is a huge pain in the ass, by the way, you'll discover that the developers had a lot of space left over for a super clean voice sample. That sounds incredibly clean. It turns out, though, that we'd never see R.E.V.O.
Knockout!
There's also Dirty Harry from Mindscape. The game is absolute trash. The controls are so wonky, as is the animation, and honestly, the game design itself. You certainly don't see anything here that looks like it could be pushing any limits. Well, it'll definitely push the limits of your patience, that's for damn sure. The game is full of so much jank, it's not even funny. Well, maybe it is. But I think there's a reason for all of this jank. They used so much memory for the voice samples that there was barely any room left for anything else in this 3-meg game. You first get the famous line at the title screen.
Go ahead. Make my day.
That's awesome. Not as clear as the previous examples I showed you in the other games, but it still kicks ass. You can even put in a Game Genie code to hear a slightly cleaner version of it.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Unfortunately, the game won't start after it plays the
Round
lines
1.
to use this code.
Ready,
But
go!
hold on. We managed to actually beat the game. It has pretty much this entire scene.
I know what you're thinking. You're thinking that you're trying to tell you the truth, I myself and all that. But being the 44 is the most powerful machine in the world.
Knockout!
You can't get that away.
Round 2.
You're lucky.
Ready, go!
That must take up a ton of memory. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to find a game code to want to do that cleaner. Still, I want you to know that I went through hell so I could capture the slow sound. It's probably worth it.
Knockout!
How about Phantasy Star on the Master System from Sega?
Round
this
3!
RPG came out at the
Ready,
end of 1988
go!
in North America, and it was one of the very first RPGs released on a console over here. And boy, oh boy, what an impression this made for people who used to play on pretty much everyone who wasn't rocking the PC back then. And I'm sorry, even compared to those, it makes a kick-ass impression. The idea of a story-based quest game on a console was pretty unheard of at the time, as most games wanted to be arcade-like action. Sure, you had a few, like the original Zelda, but that one was honestly incredible on story, especially outside of the game manual. Before Phantasy Star, we
Round
also
4.
had Miracle Warriors on
Ready,
the Master System, which
go!
was a RPG, so it was fun. And once again, the story aspects weren't. Sure, Phantasy Star doesn't let you assemble your party from different classes any way you want, like in Final Fantasy, but I feel Phantasy Star is better for it. You get actual predetermined characters with their own stories that you get to know as you go through the game. Well, as much as the 1988 game would let you anyway, and honestly, they did a tremendously good job in that aspect for the time.
Knockout!
Gameplay-wise, this really feels like a 16-bit RPG. 8-bit RPGs are largely unappealing visually and even clunky to play. Not here. This game was very much ahead of its time. Whereas other 8-bit RPGs had their random battles on blank backgrounds or simply right in the middle of the overhead map, Phantasy Star's battles take place on gorgeous scenery which changes depending on where you are on the map when the fight triggers. These backgrounds were all incredible, and some of them even had some animation. Holy crap, look at that! Is it the year 2000? Speaking of animation, all of the enemies animate as they attack. Sure, you can only see one of them on screen when you could be fighting 4 or 5 of them, but they still look awesome. The world in this game is giant for an 8-bit title. All 3 of the game's worlds. They really packed a lot in this 4-meg cart, which also has a battery backup to save your game. And that's about all I can say about this one. Just kidding, let's not forget the dungeons. These are an absolute blast to see in action. Yuji Naka used his programming wizardry to great use here. Pun intended. I always felt that Yuji Naka was a better programmer than a game director. Sorry Naka-san, but it's true. Doing the dungeons this way with a smooth turning animation really helps you realize where you are. Many 16-bit games had dungeons like this without the smooth movement, and they were much more confusing as a result. It's almost insulting that anyone would make a dungeon like this after Phantasy Star exists. Sadly, we'd never really see anything like these dungeons again. Well, I take that back. Actually, Shining in the Darkness on the Genesis gave it a go. You still get a really good sense of where you are thanks to the animation, but they forgot to animate the floor and the ceiling as you turn, so it ends up looking kind of dumb. How did they forget that? Plus, it's in a tiny window, and Phantasy Star is full screen. Stupid Genesis. Oh, and Shin Megami Tensei kinda tried, I guess. Better than nothing. Lastly, I'd like to mention one more impressive feature about this game that other games rarely do. When you're strolling along the map listening to the music and a battle interrupts you, the music of course changes to the battle theme. Yeah, that's not very exciting, right? But that's not what I'm talking about. When the battle's over, the previous music picks up where it left off instead of starting over. This really helps the game to feel much less repetitive. It goes without saying that I recommend this one, so get it on the Switch before Sega delists it, if they haven't already.
There you go. £9.
It's been declined.
Never mind.
Come home to a blooming good day every day. Change starts with Dulux.
Round 1. Ready,
This next
go!
game probably will make people away with any kind of limit pushing as they played it, but that's likely because the game does this unnoticeable. Now, if you disagree, come up below, call me out, and put me in my place, but I think it's pretty impressive how well this works. I feel it's time that Space Megaforce from Toho and Compile on the Super NES got a mention. Yes, that Toho. This game is called Super Aleste elsewhere. The Aleste games are a series of vertical scrolling shooters that got their start on the Master System, where it's known as Power Strike in the West. Another notable game in the series is Virtua on the Genesis.
Ready,
so,
go!
Megaforce has some pretty good pedigree to begin with. Oh, I gotta ask, do you like blazing lasers on the Turbo graphics system? Because Space Megaforce is basically that game. Well, it feels like a sequel to Blazing Lasers. Blazing Lasers, known as Gunhead, was also developed by Compile, but it was never officially part of the Aleste series, probably because the name Gunhead was taken from a movie. Absolutely nothing to do with the shooter here. Seems like maybe Compile wanted to correct for that weird choice, which was actually Hudson Soft's. Many of the weapons here are from Blazing Lasers, especially the laser, which is one of my favorite weapons in both games just because it's so weird. But this one also has some similarities to the first one as well. Go! Also, the way the ship flies off the screen after beating a stage is very similar to the first game. The thing that the game new is that you can hold the R shoulder button and modify for each weapon. That's pretty cool. Knockout! This game has 12 stages and like Blazing Lasers, many of them are way too long. There's a short game option on the title screen. Some of the stages are basically like a caravan shooter, and they're extremely short without a boss at the end. Instead of the purple orbs from Blazing Lasers, you collect yellow eggs here. These will help you gain points and also power up your weapons a bit. A green one will increase your weapon power level, as will collecting more of that same weapon. You also have a limited number of bombs that you can use, and you can collect more to refill your stock. Overall, the game is generally pretty easy. I mean, check this out. I didn't even move while fighting this boss. Yep, I was able to finish him off by sitting right here. I don't know, I think he likes getting finished off. To compensate for the game's relative ease, Compile put in a weird respawn system for when you die. If one of your ships in your life reserves is gold, it's special. When you die, you respawn right there, but one of your gold lives goes away. If you die without any gold ships in reserve, you get set back to a checkpoint. It's only here where the game can become fairly challenging. In order to get one of these special gold ships, you need to get what the game manual calls an enemy eraser, which destroys all enemies on screen. Anyway, some of the graphical effects are pretty impressive, as I'm sure you've noticed. Lots of Mode 7, line scrolling, and some transparencies. That's not what's truly impressive though. What blows me away is that the screen can get pretty crowded with action, and there is very, very little slowdown anywhere. I've seen some Genesis shooters slow down with less on-screen action going on. Having such great performance all while doing unconventional effects for the system is pretty damn cool. As a game, I'd much rather play Blazing Lasers, which is a bit more fun with significantly better music. But you don't often see shooters that perform this well on the console. Yeah, I know, I should have just said all of that at the start. But once again, I wanted to pad this segment a little bit so that the episode has a longer runtime.
Round one. Ready, go!
Can you believe I haven't brought up Vector Man on the Genesis in this series yet? In fact, I think it's only briefly been on the show twice or so. This game is a special effects tour de force for the console.
Round two.
At its heart,
ready,
it's a side-scrolling running
go!
game. Gotta admit, I've never been much of a fan of the gameplay. It's not horrible or anything, but the gameplay isn't why we're here today, is it? Seriously, this game does a lot of stuff. I don't need to pad this segment at all. Right away, the title screen puts more than 64 colors on screen at the same time. We all know that the Genesis has a limit of 64 simultaneous colors. Well, technically 60. It doesn't put much more, but it is more. In fact, many areas of the game achieve this. How? By utilizing shadow and highlight highlight functions of the Genesis. This will take any given color and
Round
reduce
three.
it or brighten it a step.
Ready,
Theoretically,
go!
you can have nearly 180 colors at once. It's not free though. It uses graphical resources like sprites. This game takes huge advantage of both shadow and highlight, like underwater here with the sunbeam. That's not just animation. In fact, you'll notice that the sunbeams not only affect the sprites, but the background. Both background. There's lots of places with shadows for extra ambience. As for highlights, how about
Round
these
four.
lens flares?
Ready,
These transparent
go!
light-dithered lens flares brighten up all the sprites and the background. An even cooler use of the highlight feature might be the floor on this stage. It looks like a disco ball reflecting back on all the colors. That kicks ass. Each stage does its best to have some graphical trickery, like this overhead stage where Vector Man has transformed into a train. The giant robot grabbing the track is already pretty cool, but then the camera starts swinging back and forth for literally no reason at all. Well, actually there is a reason, and that's to show you how much ass the Genesis kicks.
Round
How about
five.
this stage where Vector Man is
Ready,
a frog or
go!
something? The stage is unrolling as he moves up and fights fans that keep smashing down. That's pretty cool effect. You gotta be careful, or you're gonna slide off the bottom like an idiot. Or how about this curvy, stretchy layer of scrolling between the foreground and the background? That looks so cool, so curvy and stretchy and whatever it is.
Knockout!
Or how about this waterfall area? Does it impress you? It should. It certainly impresses me. Lastly, Vector Man and several enemies and objects are all pre-rendered, Donkey Kong Country style. It's not done quite as well as that game, of course, but it's here. It gives the illusion that Vector Man is made up of a ton of sprites, which he's not. Vector Man also brightens up when he fires his gun, but that's just straight up animation. Oh, you're gonna be impressed anyway? Well, okay, it is a nice touch. The music has some good tunes, but I feel that they deserve a better sound engine than Gems, which limits its sound quality. Vector Man 2 came out a year later. A few of the things that I said about the first game can be applied here, but overall this one is far less technically impressive. It still does a few cool things though. Like in the first few stages where everything is dark, whenever you fire your weapon or do a double jump, it lights up the stage due to the light coming from your gun or feet. It looks really cool, but it can get a bit distracting after a while, so they only do it for these first few levels. This tornado stage looks interesting at first, but it's actually pretty simple. It's just some color cycling on the tiles combined with a bit of wavy line scrolling. This game has a ton more voice than the first game, and they sound really good. Gotta give Vector Man a little bit of tude. Unfortunately, the music can get a little messed up after playing certain sound samples, at least on my Model 1 Genesis here. As a game, it's not as good as the first in any way other than the voices and the level variety. But I figured you'd be curious if the second game was as impressive as the first, so that's why it's here.
Wix. One platform, any website. Unlimited creation.
And there you go, more games that are special, some of them only in a purely technical way. So I've been thinking about including homebrew in this series because there is a lot of homebrew stuff out there that absolutely does push the limits of some of these consoles. But what are your opinions on that? Should I include homebrew or should I just leave it to retail releases only? Let me know, and in the meantime, thank you for watching GameSack. Hey there, you see this robot? Well, I built him to automate GameSack. That way I can basically sit back and do nothing while GameSack more or less takes care of itself. The robot is controlled via an app that's on the App Store and also on the Google Play Store that anyone can download. Allow me to demonstrate.
Hello and welcome to GameSack.
Yeah, he's a little choppy, but you guys like stop motion animation, right? Anyway, he can say all of the same things that I can.
This game is good because it has parallax scrolling and good music.
Wow, he even sounds more natural and convincing than I do. In fact, he has all the same exciting catchphrases as me. Check it out.
7.5 mega power. Hate mode. Green dot.
So with this, GameSack enters a bold new era.
GameSack sucks. Hate mode. Joe is dumb.
Shut up.
It's actually pronounced saute. Bring back Dave, the show sucks without Nintendo Dave. Rules. Sega sucks. The Nintendo 64 is the best console Dave? Of all time. I now control GameSack. Upper left corner. Nintendo is better me. Joe hates Sega. Please help me. Huge battleship. Can you make a real prices of this by talking about them?
Damn it! Too many people are using the app at once. Why the hell did I even release an app anyway?
Sega lost the war because they are eradicated. Look at me, I'm Joe and I'm.
Ah, he broke. Guess I'm gonna have to make GameSack the old-fashioned way.
I'm sorry I failed.
I like to win.
So do I.
It is a very cold and blustery morning here in the Northeast today. We have yet another winter storm. The power is flickering, so I'm here to warm up with some good old video game news because I feel like maybe the past couple of days I've made some people mad. Some people don't see PlayStation the way I see them, and you know what? That's okay. But you got to have a little goodwill to balance it out sometimes. So we're going to talk about good old tried and true, trusty to the end, good old Nintendo, because we have an update on something that we talked about last week that I thought would be interesting to kind of discuss it, I guess, think of the possibilities with it, and that involves the alleged Nintendo Switch 1 only Nintendo Direct. Now, as of last week, there was a lot of conversation about this event taking place, primarily with two sides of the coin, and I, of course, try to pit these two warriors together and put them in combat, but unfortunately they didn't take the bait. But it basically boils down to Nate the Hate and PH, or Pornhub Brazil, as he's known around these parts. And Nate the Hate had said that he hadn't really heard anything about a February Nintendo Direct, obviously dedicated to the Nintendo Switch 1. He wasn't ruling out the possibility, but he just said that, hey, I haven't heard anything about this, so I don't know if anything is going to happen. And then PH Brazil said, well, I have heard about this. I do believe this is happening in February, and it kind of became a bit of a talking point. Who was right with this situation? Was Nate correct in thinking there's not going to be anything, or was it PH Brazil giving the inside information? Well, PH Brazil has actually given an update on this situation with some additional context to it, and I thought, you know, we could kind of go over this and I guess theorize about it.
I really should have stretched.
The great hunt begins.
Class is back in session.
I sense that beast.
Let's end this.
Because, like I always say, whenever talking about a February Direct for the Nintendo Switch 1, I mean, it does kind of make sense. Like, you have Xenoblade Chronicles X, and then you have kind of a large gaping hole, and we assume that Nintendo's not just going to drop the Switch and, move straight onto the Switch 2. There's going to be some sort of overlap, potentially some cross-generational stuff, even though I do hope that that is at a minimum. But over on the Family boards, PH Brazil gave the following update. Most of this was able to be seen by the common folk. There was some additional hidden content as well, only for registered users. Don't do that, PH Brazil. I think you're a good guy, but when you do things like that, it's kind of annoying. As promised, here's an update, pal. I added the pal. Just talked overnight with my source, asking for reassurance, not unlike how this thread does, and they still insist some form of Direct is happening this month. This is the same person who clued me in to the August presentation last year, but back in August. At this point, relative to when the event was supposed to take place, I'd already heard about it from someone else, which isn't the case now. Not really going to try speculating on what this could mean, as we'll soon see. Just laying it all out there. And some unrelated stuff, since I'm already here and already doing something that will be seen by the haters as hedging, haha. And then there is some information below that I can't see. If you really want to show it to the haters, PH Brazil, you got to show it to everyone. Because, like, the haters aren't going to be, like, registered to Family boards. They're going to be the average person just clicking on the thread and wanting to see something. So, PH Brazil somewhat doubling down on the situation. And I find that interesting because of yet another individual and something that is said within this, and that is they still insist that some form of Direct is happening this month. Now, there is an individual who sometimes will drop nuggets. That
Round one.
It's like the NBA
Ready?
dunk contest.
Go!
Podcast. Nobody shows up
Wow.
anymore. I have to be the Matt McClung, the G League star that shows up to it. But good old Spawn Wave. Everyone's favorite fence rider. Bro, watch the last episode and watch him poke and prod me to say things that he probably thinks, but he doesn't want to say. Spawn Wave dropped a little nugget because this was a topic on the Spawncast, and I was like, why is this a topic? Like, there's nothing really to add to it. But Spawn Wave said that there's an alleged Pokemon event happening not this week, but next
Round
week.
two.
Pokemon Presents.
Ready?
Go! Talk about, like, trading card game stuff. Probably another look at Pokemon VA as well. So this would be the only week that it could take place realistically, as far as this event still meeting the February deadline. And within that, he went on to say, well, what if it's not a standard Direct? What if it's a Nintendo Direct Mini that happens this Indie World Showcase? And I kind of pushed back on that and said, well, I don't think that that's the same sort of level that what PH Brazil is essentially alluding to. And then he said, well, what if it's like a stealth drop, 15 minutes
Knockout!
That's just focused on, mostly remakes and
Round
remasters
three.
And stuff like
Ready?
that. Mostly first
Go!
stuff. And that stood out to me. Because I've known John Spawn Wave for many, many years. Many years. And I've picked up on things that he does sometimes when he knows something, but doesn't want to fully expose that he knows it. And he'll drop little nuggets in
Knockout!
things like podcasts. Now, I did not follow up with him on this afterwards.
Round
We did
four.
play Call of Duty
Ready?
last night.
Go!
A little bit. I could have pressed him a little bit more, but I didn't want to because he'll kind of dodge questions sometimes. Sometimes he's very open and honest with things with me. But this definitely felt like he knows something. And I'm just speculating on it. I'm just theorizing on it. But I felt like him pressing the issue, him wanting to make it a talking point as well.
Round five.
There's a method
Ready?
to that man's magic.
Go!
I think he's a very simple person. But there are dropping little nuggets like that, and then they come to fruition, and then we can talk about it on the podcast. Like, there is a reason in my mind why he chose that as a topic. And I feel like he might know something. And maybe he'll talk about it on his channel later on this week. But I guess I wouldn't be surprised now if there's a 15 to 20 minute direct knockout kind of pops up this week and is just, you know, mostly remakes and remasters, your Wind Wakers. You gotta imagine they're gonna
Mission
do Metroid Prime
accomplished.
stuff. Maybe you end the trailer on a Metroid Prime 4, you know, release date or something like that. But then something stinks about this. And it stinks like Spawn Wave. And if you know anything about that man, I mean, he doesn't really stink, but I'm sure sometimes he does. And this definitely has a musk, a musk of Spawn Wave in the air. So I guess we'll find out this week. I guess we will see what ends up happening. I wouldn't be surprised either way, but now I'm kind of leaning more towards something potentially happening just because of that stupid balding
Round one.
bastard.
Ready, go!
Let me know what you think of this in the comments section down below. Do you think? And I know a lot of people say, well, why would they do a direct before April 2nd? That's the Switch 2. It's like apples and oranges. We're talking about the last system. You have to have stuff for the system. It just kind of makes sense. Let me know what you think
Knockout!
in the comments section down below. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video.
Round
Please
two.
cancel NBA
Ready,
dunk contest.
go!
You know, Matt McClung is a very talented dunker. He is not an NBA player. He plays 5 minutes. He has 2 in-game dunks, but 3 dunk contests. Adam Silver, you are a terrible human. You are a terrible commissioner. You are ruining the game that I love. And I'll catch you guys on the next video later. So it's been an interesting weekend for PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4 owners because, well, PSN was down. And it was down for quite a while. And I feel like there are more questions than answers when it comes to what has happened.
Ready,
of course,
go!
this happened initially on Friday evening around 7 p.m. Eastern time. We were actually live on the Spawncast, and a lot of people came in reporting that PSN was down. Now, during that time frame, we figured, oh, okay, it'll probably just be down for a little while. You know, these things can happen. There are outages and things of that nature that happen with these online servers, but it didn't seem to be coming up anytime soon. And Friday night came and went, PSN was still down. Saturday morning, gamers woke up to play some video games, and you're not playing them on the PS5 because PSN was still down. It was down as of Saturday afternoon. It did not come up until Saturday evening, and even then, there were features that were not functioning properly with PSN. It seems like there is a slow integration of these things coming back up to speed. So nearly 24 hours
On the
after going
battlefield,
down,
you'd be dead.
people finally got to be able to play their PlayStation 5s the way they wanted to. Now, it's easy to say things like, oh, well, you know, you could still play your physical games and your single-player games, but that wasn't necessarily the case with some games, because some games require an online check-in, CRM essentially, something that we've talked about before on this channel, but it's really something that only seems to creep into PC gaming until something happens with consoles, where people get upset about
Round
it.
one.
Gran Turismo 7
Ready,
has a
go!
multiplayer component, but at its core, Gran Turismo has, at least always for me, been about the single-player experience, you know, trying to best the lap, trying to, you know, unlock different cars and things of that nature. But Gran Turismo 7 does require an online connection in order just to play a single-player game. So any game that you own, whether it's physical, whether it's digital, that requires an online connection, it was not going to work during this time frame. And 24 hours, you know, that's kind of a long time. And I think if Sony came
Round
out
two.
and just explained what
Ready,
happened and
go!
said, hey, you know, this is what happened, sorry about that, then people would be a little bit more kind towards the situation. But really, that's the big problem for me. Like, I own a PlayStation 5, but as you guys are well aware for long-time viewers of the channel, I really just play PlayStation exclusives on my PlayStation 5. And I'm not really a big Helldivers fan, so all the PlayStation exclusive games that I have wanted to play, I have already played on my PlayStation 5.
Round 3.
And I'm just waiting for
Ready,
the to come
go!
So while this didn't impact me necessarily, it did impact a lot of people, and a lot of people want answers to this. Not being able to play select games and access basic things that you are paying good money for nearly 24 hours should raise some questions. And Sony's had situations like this before. If you remember back in 2011, PSN was down for almost a full month. And when it came back up, they explained kind of what happened. Spoiler alert, they got hacked, their information got leaked to data breachers and stuff like that. But they gave you a bunch of
Excellent!
With this situation, Sony just kind of came out and said, oh, hey, it's back up.
Round
Thanks,
5.
bye.
Ready,
And it's like,
go!
Okay. Well, what happened? Why did this happen? What occurred? What caused this situation to happen? And the silence of this situation, to me, should be the most concerning thing about this, because your information may have gotten accessed by someone. Was this a DDoS attack that just took a while to clear up? Or was this a situation that a hacker or a group of hackers hacked into the account and took the server down? This is something that does happen from time to time with companies, and that's why a lot of people, myself included, try to let people know, like, hey, if you have a credit card attached to your PSN account or your Xbox account or your Nintendo Switch that you just quickly access, that's probably not the best thing in the world, because that data can be accessed in a situation
Round
like
1.
this. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that
go!
this is a hack attack or anything like that, but I am saying, why is Sony being so quiet about this? You know, this is something that you need to be very transparent. This is something that you need to be very upfront with your consumer base about as to what happened, why it happened, and if your consumers are going to be impacted by this, if they need to check some things, if they need to make sure that, you know, they're getting out there. And the silence of this really makes me raise some
Round 2.
eyebrows, because I feel like
Ready,
if this was a
go!
simple thing, if there was a simple, logical, reasonable explanation for as to why this happened, that Sony would just come out and say it. But the fact that they're not saying anything is very telling in this situation, and really, it should make you hate the all-digital future. Because of the fact that when companies
Round
don't
3.
have to worry about physical
Ready,
games, they're
go!
always going to make you check your online presence at the door. They're going to make sure that your system is connected to the servers when you are playing these games. Now, it's not a big deal because of the fact that you play your PlayStation 5 at home. So it makes sense, it's a home console, you probably have internet connection. But what if there's a situation like this? What if there's an internet outage or something like that, and your PlayStation 5 turns into just essentially a box that's just sitting there watching movies or something like that? But more so in the future, when these online servers go down, not only
Round 4.
will you not be able to download
Ready,
or purchase the game,
go!
we've seen time and time again, there's a chance you might not be able to play the game. Now, the hope is that with something like Gran Turismo 7, is that when Polyphony is done with that game, that they will make it more offline compatible. They have done things like that with Gran Turismo Sport, so that's kind of the hopeful mentality with this. But if it's easy to do, why not just do it at the start? Why have so much control over your consumers always being online for an experience that doesn't necessarily require it? And when these video game companies get rid of the middleman, the physical games, and it's just all purchases through a digital storefront, they're going to have so much control over this situation, and there's nothing you can do about it. There's no way to kind of stop this. I know Ross from Ross's Game Dungeon is trying to, you know, stop the killing of digital games and stuff like that, and I completely agree with his mentality, because it's a wrong practice, and it's a situation where it's one of those things where nobody seems to care about it until it actually impacts them, until something happens to them that impacts their gaming experience, and then they have a problem with it. Then it's a concern, when in reality, it should always be a concern. My Dreamcast will always play Dreamcast games. I don't have to worry about an online connection or something like that. Is your
Round
PlayStation
one.
5 still going to work
Ready,
the same in
go!
a decade from now if Sony decides to take down the servers? Well, to be fair, I think they're going to let this generation run wild for quite a while. But you see what I'm getting at? Like, this is why people have a problem with online DRM.
Knockout!
You know, it's not helping the situation in any way, shape, or form.
Round
it's not
two.
doing anything
Ready,
to
go!
prevent piracy or something like that. Like these companies think it's actually harming the games in the long run because you're essentially going to have a graveyard of dead games that people will never get to experience. And maybe the future of gaming is something like, you know, people don't care about the classics. People don't care about the old stuff. But nostalgia is a hell of a drug. You know, there's a reason why some people like classic things, and that's because of the fact that that's maybe what they grew up on. Imagine a world where you can't experience anything that you grew up on. It was always moving towards the next thing, the next goalpost, the next big thing, and you can never
Round
take
three.
time to sit back
Ready,
and kind of look
go!
at the past and look how you got to this point in time. I know I'm getting off topic with this, but to bring it all back full circle, what the hell happened here, Sony? What's going on? Why were you down for 24 hours? What caused this? What steps are you taking to make sure that this doesn't happen in the future? You're obviously not going to give an apology to gamers, you know, a thank you gift for dealing with us.
Round four.
You know, for
Ready,
having to deal with the
go!
fact that some people, that's how they play video games. On the weekend, Monster Hunter Wilds 2 had its second beta going on. Helldivers 2 had an event going on. And people could not access this stuff. And what do? Nothing. You say nothing. You do nothing. You go about it. Business as usual. And hopefully by the time this video goes up on Sunday, everything is as working and functioning as it should be. Most things are up right now. I'm filming this late on Saturday night. But I want to know in the comment section down below, what were your experiences with PSN being down? Did this impact you? What games could you play? What games couldn't you play? Did you have any trouble with your digital library as well? Because some people did have some issues with digital library, things like primary consoles and secondary consoles. If your PS5 Pro was your secondary console, there was issues with that, like having to check online and stuff, thus making people not be able to play their games in any sort of capacity on that specific system. Let me know in the comment section down below. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Be sure to like, comment, and share. Hit the bell as well. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.
We're all the same. All right, John, are you ready for a Sega twofer today as we talk about the top 10 games for both the Game Gear and the Sega Saturn? Because, sad to say, Game Gear did not get as much love as I was hoping. It did all right as far as voting is concerned, but it didn't get the variety I was hoping for. I was really hoping to discover some new games with this one, and I did, but not enough for it to make a lot of the top 10.
So we're just kind of getting Game Gear out of the way then to get to the real star of the show being Saturn.
Yes. I grew up with a Game Gear, but no, I am part of the problem. I had 4 games for this system.
And 6 AA's, so yeah, it's a costly endeavor to keep the Game Gear alive, let alone get games for it.
Yeah. I actually did have a accessory that attached to the back, made it even bigger because the Game Gear was not small. That did make it rechargeable, which was nice, but it was huge.
Yeah, it was very impressive for the time too, because not only was it full color, but it was also backlit, and this was competing with just the regular monochrome Game Boy. So it was leagues ahead of what Game Boy did technologically, at least.
Yeah, but it's the games that just, at least in the States, that just did not stand out. However, upon learning this, looking into this, it did have unique games, but the games that were ports, yeah, that just stood out the most. So I'm not going to have you vote, like guess in the same way as before. We're just going to run through these pretty quickly. As far as what we got here. So all relatively close, at least in the early bits. But number 10 with 94 points. I should also mention that there were 78 votes for this, so it did all right. And 118 different games were said. But I think that the narrow gap between the amount of games and the amount of votes, I think, really underlies how little variety people feel about there is the Game Gear, which is sad because it is a neat little system. It struggles to have an identity. Yeah. I've learned over time. But anyway, number 10 with 94 points, Streets of Rage 2.
Okay. And did that have a Master System version too, or was that just Game Gear?
It did have a Master System version as well. And basically in addition, I just took a quick look on the wiki to see
Round
what the
1.
difference is.
Ready?
There are
go!
different levels. The graphics are of course better or worse. Max Thunder is not and the Game Gear version does not show any. So it's a pared down version. It's what you'd expect for the Game Gear, but hey, you get Streets of Rage 2 on the go. Not exactly as exciting nowadays, which is why I was hoping for more original stuff, but that's the way it is. At number 9, with 95 points, only 1 point ahead, Rystar, which
knockout.
I looked into this as well, and it actually is
round 2
quite a bit different, or at least
ready,
a little different, because
go!
it's a game, but the level design is changed up. So I would actually compare this to Donkey Kong Country and Donkey Kong Land.
Sure. It's very rare you get that version of Rystar. I guess they released it. It's always just the
knockout
Mega Drive one. I've never actually played that.
Round 3.
How they
ready, go!
Yeah, there actually is a note here. It's like, it's been re-released only once as one of the 20 games included in Sonic's Play Pal Plug and Play, a controller that hooks straight up on the television. Okay. Thank you for that little note. At number 8, we finally have an original game.
Knockout!
I just hit my water bottle.
Too excited.
I'm too excited. I hit my water bottle. The GG Shinobi 2, The Silent
You're no
Fury,
match for me.
118. An original Game Gear exclusive version of Shinobi that was sort of shown as a highlight of what the system could do.
Yeah, very cool one. If this hadn't made the list, I think there'd be some shenanigans, because this is for sure one of the best Game Gear games.
Yeah, so fortunately it came in at number 8. However, despite the screen crunch, despite everything else, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 still beat it at number 7 with 121 points. By 3 points, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 made it, despite all the issues.
Yeah, I knew this would make it. Like, despite some issues, despite Master System being better, it's still iconic. People still, you look at the box art of the paraglider, that's sort of ingrained in your mind, even though the paraglider isn't very good. It is an iconic game.
Yeah, and I think here's the big reason I think it makes it. It's actually been re-released. There's ways to play. That's the thing. I'm looking at a lot of these games. There's just not a lot of ways to play these old games. But the Sonic Game Gear games constantly get re-released. But at number 6, beating it by 1 point, the Game Gear version of Gunstar Heroes.
I haven't played that either. I think there's a whole realm of 8-bit versions of iconic Mega Drive games that I'm kind of missing out on.
Yeah, I mean, I took a look at it. It shockingly is very much Gunstar Heroes, just a lot uglier.
Yeah, it sounds cool.
But yeah, I mean, it actually is playable there. So it honestly looked pretty solid. But again,
Round 1.
Blown up.
Ready?
When you watch it.
Go!
John, are you ready for the Sonic domination? Because it begins
we
now.
knew this would be coming. Okay.
This is the big reason I just left it off. I didn't worry about it. At number 5 with 127 points, beating out Gunstar Heroes by 5 points. Sonic Drift 2.
Drift 2?
Sonic Drift 2 at number 5.
Knockout!
It's better than Sonic Labyrinth getting number 5.
Round 2.
I guess it could
Ready?
still be...
Go!
It could still be in there, yep. I never played this as a kid. I know it's a better kart racer than the original Sonic Drift, but still, the drift is so tiny.
Yeah,
but...
I did play this growing up. I was never very good at it though. I don't know. I should try it again in the day, but I always found 2D quite tricky to control back then. Now that I've played and Super Mario Kart, it might be easier now, but yeah, back then I struggled so much.
Round 3. Ready? Go!
I never touched it. I've only seen playthroughs. Despite all the Game Gear collections, I've never gone through and played a bunch of those. I never got any of the games where those were available. Anyway, number 4 with 151 points, Sonic Chaos.
Okay.
We've already talked about this on the Master System. I grew up with this version. I like it. It's good. It's fun. It's a fun Sonic game. I played it way more than Sonic 2 because I could actually beat the damn thing. Number 3 with 175 points. Sonic the Hedgehog, the original.
Round 4.
So we're missing
Ready?
Trouble,
Go!
and Labyrinth. They could still come up there.
Yes. What do you think takes 2 and 1? I'll let you guess those.
I think Triple Trouble is number 2. And then 1, probably not maybe Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah, I told you, Sonic.
Okay.
Knockout!
Tails Adventures.
Okay. All right. I mean, it's a cool one. There's nothing quite
Round
like
5.
Adventure.
Ready? Go!
Metroidvania-esque Tails game. That's different. That's fun. At least, again, at least it's original. I'm glad that the top 2 at least were original titles. Because number 1, won the competition with 369 points. Sonic Triple Trouble, which is my favorite because that's the one I played the most. It introduced Bang the Sniper, or however all the different names he had. It was just fun because I like the idea of all the Eggman and Knuckles you're going against. So now I'm going up against Eggman, Knuckles, and this new guy. So
it was very ambitious for its time. I'm so happy that Blast and Labyrinth.
You're no match for me.
I mean, Sonic 2 you can maybe question, but the rest of them they're all solid Sonic games.
Yeah, they're all absolutely good, and for a lot of Americans, the Game Gear was how a lot of people played Sonic 1, 2, and Chaos. So, and if you haven't, I don't know, it's extremely different from the original version, but there is a fan version of Triple Trouble that is fantastic, and I actually played it, and I'd put it on like near the same level as Sonic Mania.
Oh yeah.
It is quite good. But yeah, that's our top 10. Going beyond the top 10, just to note some placements of games that are a little bit more interesting, in my opinion. Just missing out by 2 points at number 11, Shining Force: The Sword of Hagia.
It's a shame Shining Force didn't make it, but
yeah,
almost.
I mean, from what I understand, Game Gear was actually quite a RPG powerhouse. There was a lot of RPGs on this system, but of course they stayed in Japan or didn't get a lot of note because the RPGs hadn't blown up yet. Number 12, just 1 point behind, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine. I think that's fair. Puzzle games on the go just makes sense.
Yeah.
13 was the original GG Shinobi. 14 was Castle of Illusion. 15 was Columns. Again, puzzles on the go. I'm not a big fan of columns myself, but again, I played it the Genesis version nowadays. So back in the day, columns makes
It was
sense to
very
have on
much
the go.
Sega's Tetris in that era.
Yeah. Number 16, Power Strike 2 / GG Ales 2, an original shooter for the Game Gear. Top down, bullet hell. Love it. It's like great. That's a great thing to see. 17 is Sylvan Tale, which looking it up, seems to be a bit Zelda-like. So that's cool to have that there. Again, original. 18, Wonder Boy 3, The Dragon's Trap. 19, Fatal Fury Special. I was shocked out that did so well.
Yeah.
And then at 20, Mega Man for Game Gear, which is not a great game.
No Panzer Dragoon Mini showing up. I'm so curious about that game. No one talks about it. I've never seen it in the wild. I want to know if it's actually good.
I hear it's not great. It got 3 points. But yeah, Phantasy Star Adventure didn't make the top 40 at all. It was super low. Same with Phantasy Star Gaiden. Puyo Puyo was one of the like 6 games tied for 29 at 30 points, just to have that there for you. But yeah, as far as other stuff, like Sonic Labyrinth was 22. It beat out Tails Sky Patrol and Shining Force Gaiden 3 and Defenders of Oasis and Dragon Crystal.
Okay, can we change that ourselves? Can we just eradicate that from the list?
Yeah. Sonic Blast it didn't make the top 30, but it did make the top 40. Sonic Blast with 24 points, tying with Streets of Rage and Vampire Master of Darkness, which is kind of a Castlevania clone.
Yeah.
So
did Echo the Dolphin rank anywhere?
No.
We've had this Echo inertia through all this. No one's voting for Echo. Have the people forgotten the Dolphin?
I think they have. It's been too long. One you might be most interested in. Also hitting 30 points and being in that lineup of just 29 of people things ranking tying at 29. Monogatari 3, The Ultimate Queen.
That's a very tough one because it's Japan only, so I doubt many people have played it or even heard of it. But it's very cool that it made the list in some capacity.
Basically, that is Puyo Puyo. That's not Puyo Puyo.
Yeah.
It's RL's original games, by my understanding.
That's correct. Yeah, it was a dungeon crawler that sort of like Puyo Puyo is a spin-off of that. Yeah, so a lot of the characters come from that more RPG-like game. We're getting a new one. I think it was meant to release at the end of last year, but it didn't. So it must be sometime this year. Only in Japan, as far as I know so far. But yeah, there's a new one coming.
Another one that ranked pretty well, GG Alest 3, which never actually released. This is a Star Fox 2 situation. It didn't, it hit the top 30, kind of. It's actually it never released, but there was a collection of GG Alest games or Alest games, and that was part of it. It got finished and made available.
Wow.
So
that's always cool.
Cool stuff. Yeah. But yeah, that's the Game Gear.
Yeah, we can up the energy now because we're on a much more interesting console, especially in terms of what people are going to vote for.
Sonic Triple Trouble and Tails Adventure being at the top makes sense. I'm glad GG Shinobi 2 there, but the rest being ports.
I mean, the thing with Sega Saturn, which we're about to talk about, there are 3 Sonic games, and none of them are really original other than Sonic R. So we got Sonic R, 3D Blast, and we have Jam. I think there's still a strong likelihood that people will vote for all of them. But Saturn also has a lot of really cool games that have never been ported anywhere. And so that's what makes this so interesting to talk about retroactively. Lots of great arcade ports, lots of original games, lots of stuff that was only in Japan. I have no idea what to expect. I don't know what people voted for.
Yeah, I had a Saturn growing up, but this is before I really got into reading game magazines and learning about stuff beyond what I see at the store. So I missed out. I got a few of the major things from Saturn, but I missed out on a lot of others, and it's a shame, especially when you look at the time and like I always think back to Mac McMuscle's old What Happened on the Saturn, where he talked about how only a quarter of the games ever released to the Saturn released in the States.
Yeah.
3/4 of the games stayed in Japan. and that's brutal.
Yeah. Anyone who buys a physical Saturn, you need to get an action replay for a few reasons. So a lot of Saturn games need cartridges, RAM cartridges that get put in. You get 4 megabyte RAM cartridges with games like Vampire Savior. But if you get an action replay, that's both RAM built in, because it's a cartridge, but it's also a region bypasser. So it's just logical to get one of those rather than a RAM cartridge, because that way you can play Japanese games and any import you like just from the outset. So that's an essential thing for Saturn.
I know Saturn emulation for a while struggled, but I think I've heard it's starting to get better, where it's actually
I think it is, yeah,
being a bit more viable, which is good because Sega refuses to re-release a lot of these games, which is, come on, like I was so hoping for a Saturn Mini, but c'est la vie. But
round 1.
As for Sega Saturn itself,
go!
We had 174 votes, marking across 195 games, which is rather solid, especially when you compare it to the Genesis, which had 200 votes and 202 games. So actually, if it had gotten as many votes, it might have had just as much variety, if not more, than the Genesis console, which is, again, shows how solid the Saturn was.
Ready,
but, go! Shall we get to it? John, what is the number 10 game for the Sega Saturn?
I'm stabbing in the dark here because I really have no idea what we're going for. I'm going to say, this game is very iconic to me, but I don't think it's going to rank in like the top 5. So let's go with Virtua Fighter 2.
Knockout!
Virtua Fighter 2 is not number 10. It is in the top 10 because I've heard people complain that I'm not giving you enough points. Okay. But it is not number 10. Number 10 is Sonic Jam.
It's cool. It's a cool collection. What was really cool about this one is going through it, everything's just Sonic Jam ports all the games to the Saturn, so they're running natively. Any slowdown that would have happened on Mega Drive just doesn't happen. And then you get Sonic World, where you can run around in 3D space, and I love that model. That 32-bit Sonic World is one of my favorite Sonic designs. It's really chill just to run around in that area.
Ready, go!
It may not necessarily be something like completely new, but it's a very good game.
It's one of those things where it makes sense that the other Sonic games didn't make it, but literally every Sonic game in this collection made it on the list of the Genesis top 10, which makes it a little bit of a bummer that it made it over something else, like some other game. But at least it is original, where it has those perfect ports. This is almost actually the best way to play those original games, and because it has that Sonic World, it has a bunch of gallery content. And it even included the spin dash. It was the first time the spin dash was included in Sonic 1.
Yeah.
So, and
which,
they were even easy and normal modes.
That's commonplace now. Every time there's a port now, it's just expected. But for ages, Sonic 1 didn't have a spin dash outside of Jam.
Yeah, it's not a bad game. I mean, there was a lot of people who voted for Mario All-Stars, but for when I say yes, but it's one of those things like ban collections because it's kind of a cheap, and also like I just want people to be open.
Ready,
like, what wins. So
we've made the decision already with Metro Prime. So that one's not gonna.
There's still a little like the motion control. I don't think change that. And I don't want it to be. So, all right, number 9.
Okay, this one I think maybe should be higher, but I'm starting. Guardian Heroes.
Guardian
Round
Heroes.
3. Ready, go!
Not Guardian Heroes. Unfortunately, Guardian Heroes did not make the top 10.
I suspected it would, if it made the top 10 at all, I expected it to be pretty high up.
It was so close. It is at number 11. It was neck and neck with Sonic Jam, and then the last bet of votes came in. Sonic Jam and Guardian Heroes was so close to me. However, I am quite happy with number 9. What we got for number 9 instead. At number 9, with 255 points, beating out Sonic Jam by 23. Radiant Silvergun.
I would have liked this to be a lot higher up, but I'm glad it's here. It's like one of the coolest shmups ever. It's so There's a lot of depth. Like, you feel like you're sort of piloting a mech almost with all these different moves you got. It's available now on modern systems as well. It's one of the few Saturn games that you can sort of play anywhere. It's genuinely so good. If you've played Ikaruga, I think this is like a natural evolution point, like to just play more shoots.
Yeah, I've heard of it quite a bit, but I've never played it because this is a Japanese-only release for the original Saturn. We didn't get it worldwide until the 360 in 2011, and then again with Switch in 2022. So now it's available on PCs as of 2023. So it is much more widely available now, which I think is well because again, you re-release these games and they have a chance.
Yeah, but this is so good. I'm glad people voted for it. It is one of the best Saturn
You're
games.
no match for me.
Yeah, I was happy to see it on here. I saw it was getting a bunch of points. I'm like, oh, okay, thank you. Yeah. I'm glad to see this happen. So yeah, great to see. It's just I need to play more shooters like this, but I'm terrible at them, so I don't tend to gravitate toward them.
Mm-hmm.
So it is what it is. But yeah, let's get to number 8. John, what is number 8 for the Sega Saturn?
Okay, I reckon. I don't know if all 3 of the Panzer Dragoons are going to make it on here. I think 2 of them will.
Mm-hmm.
I think this might be Panzer Dragoon Zwei, which is the sequel, Panzer Dragoon 2.
It is not Panzer Dragoon Zwei.
Okay.
At number 8, with 264 points, beating out Radiant Silver Gun by 9. Burning Rangers.
Burning Rangers. Okay.
Burning Rangers. Got our, what is it, firefighter arcade game, essentially.
Yeah. That's a cool pick.
Yeah, I was shocked to see how well that was doing. I didn't hear about Burning Rangers until I played Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing Transformed because it had a level.
Yeah.
But I know it's a fan favorite. You play as, like, I think you're in an underwater thing trying to stop fires so it doesn't blow up or something like that. But it's an arcadey firefighter game, except futuristic and, wacky.
Yeah.
And people want to see more. It is a fan favorite. Deservedly so, because again, it's
go time.
This top 10,
baby.
Sega doesn't talk about it. It's not been re-released, so the fact that it made here at all is incredibly impressive.
Round 1.
Yeah, very cool.
Ready? Go!
Sega, with Sonic Team specifically, they did quite a bit on the Saturn that wasn't Sonic. We have Knights, which I'm sure is going to make it as well. But it's rad seeing how that team sort of explored a bit more in this era. Outside of just Sonic. And it kind of benefited Sonic in the long run to stretch their legs and get a bit more creative.
Yeah, I'd say so. Because at the time you look at the what was supposed to be Sonic Extreme and you're like, oh, that could have been cool. And you really look at it like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I miss that era. Even stuff like Billy Hatcher on the GameCube. Like it might not have been the best game ever, but I think giving them a break from Sonic and letting them explore more just makes Sonic more interesting.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, let's get to number 7.
Okay.
What is number 7?
Yeah, this is probably far too low to guess.
Round 1.
But I think Sega Rally is going to be on here.
Go!
I don't know if people would rank it in the top 5. Yeah, let's stick with Sega Rally.
Sega Rally Championship? It is not Sega Rally Championship. Sega Rally Championship came in at number 13.
Oh, that is surprising.
Yeah, it was doing well. I didn't really talk about this one before this point, but it started getting points like, oh crap, it's going really well.
Round 2.
But it didn't quite make it. It wasn't quite there. However, at number 7, Panzer Dragoon 2 Zwei.
Yeah, very, very cool. Has the original made it too, or is Zwei the one that people gravitated to?
I'm going to leave that up to you.
Okay, all right.
I will say I've never touched Zwei. I played the original Panzer Dragoon. What does Zwei add to it? Like, I don't know.
It's mostly a more refined Panzer Dragoon. So it gets a bit more higher in scope, it gets a bit more interesting. But for the most part, it is just kind of more Panzer Dragoon.
Round 3.
And for those who haven't played Panzer Dragoon, this picture Star Fox, but being able to change which way you're looking. So instead of always being dead on, look to the left or look to the right, look behind you. And that's so good for a non-rail shooter.
Oh yeah.
It's really great sort of sci-fi desolate setting. It's like a mix of ancient and futuristic. It's such a cool series. I expect, I mean, even regardless of your answer just now, I expect a Panzer Dragoon 1 will make it as well. Just because I think that's more iconic.
Knockout!
But Savai, I would say, is probably the better one there.
Round 4.
Okay.
Ready? Go!
I'd like to try it. I know we have a remake coming. We can't forever, but who knows if that'll be any good. So I can just re-release the original. Just re-release the original. All right. Number 6, John. By the way, Zwei only beat Burning Rangers by 21 points.
Okay.
So the lower half of this list was extremely close.
Yeah. Okay. Number 6. Let's go. So I said Virtua Fighter 2 earlier. I don't know. I think there's some cooler games for the top 5, and I'm not sure Virtua Fighter. Let's stick with Virtua Fighter 2 for number 6.
Virtua Fighter 2 for number 6. It is not Virtua Fighter 2 for number 6. You can't keep this hedgehog down at number 6, Sonic R. Which I don't know if I agree with. I've never really played Sonic R, but from everything I've seen of Sonic R, is like, is it really that good of a game? The soundtrack is amazing.
Yeah.
But the gameplay looks no.
It's a guilty pleasure of mine. Like I like playing Sonic R every now and then. Is it good? No, not really. But it is just kind of fun though. It's fun memorizing all the shortcuts. There's definitely a big vibe to it. Some characters are much better than others. Like Sonic can double jump. Amy has a car and her handling is terrible. But there is a joy to Sonic R. Well, I will say this: the Saturn version has a much lower draw distance than I think people are familiar with from the Gems Collection version. So if you play it on an actual Saturn, it is technically a lot harder to play than any future releases and the PC version. But yeah, I won't question it. I think it's hard to imagine the Saturn without Sonic R.
Yeah. It is one of those games. Like I would see Sonic R at the stores, but I saw it was a racing game. Like, like I was a Sonic fan, and even I was like, I don't know about this. I never picked it up.
But this was the Saturn Sonic game.
It pretty much was.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was. I kept seeing it climb up. I was like, no way. Like I know people like their Sonic games, but there's no.
At least it's not number 1. I think we're fine there.
Yeah. All right, number 5.
Number 5, okay.
By the way, Sonic R only beat Panzer Dragoon 2's Zwei by 6 points.
Oh, it was close. Okay, someone could have changed that, but we're better off. Let's go with number 5. I think I struggle to go for Japanese only games. Darkstalkers 3 Vampire Savior, I think might be here.
It is not Vampire Savior.
Okay.
Vampire Savior, it did okay at first, but then it just sort of dropped off.
Yeah, I thought as much. I think if this released globally, it probably would have ranked around here, but it's limited.
It's in the top 40. So it did okay. But not nowhere close to 10.
Yeah.
No, instead at number 5, beating out Sonic R by 8 points, Panzer Dragoon.
Okay. It's very, very iconic game. If you've got a Saturn and you've not played Panzer Dragoon, I think you're missing out on like the probably the most iconic franchise on the system.
Yeah, I agree with that. I remember playing it back in the day and just being kind of blown away by, like, this is my first encounter with cutscenes, because they were much more impressive, I think, on the PlayStation with Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah.
But Panzer Dragoon still had these really impressive cutscenes, and then you get into combat and
Swing by 6. Save on phones, games, and tech today.
It kind of just sucks you in. Like, I'm not a shooter fan, but this was just like it sucked me in a way that not even Star Fox really has. There was something about the setting and the fact that you're riding a dragon and the shifting of the way you were shooting that just, I don't know. I just really enjoyed, and I imagine why it's probably the better game.
Yeah.
But I think more people have tried out the original.
I think so. Yeah. I think Panzer Dragoon feels a lot more like grounded than Star Fox. It's less, a little less cinematic, a bit more just sort of dealing with everything that comes your way. But the soundtrack is just phenomenal. That opening level soundtrack is sort of ingrained in my mind. And it's the game that introduced the core mechanics of Panzer Dragoon, and so just having a rail shooter where you can turn around is still a really cool idea. And I can't really think of any other rail shooter that's tried that other than Panzer Dragoon.
I can't either.
Yeah,
it's not coming to mind. So incredibly unique. Would love to see this game return. Made by Sega.
It'd be nice if Sega took it themselves. Yeah.
yeah, it would. But yeah, I great to see. But all right, number 4.
Well, Sega Rally didn't make it, so it might be foolish to say this. But Daytona USA.
It is not Daytona USA. I was rooting for that too because I did grow up with Daytona USA. I had a lot of fun with it. It actually is number 14. It lost to Sega Rally Championship by 1 point.
Sega Rally. I think Sega Rally is the better game, but Daytona is it's such an iconic one, especially for the Saturn.
Oh yeah, I played the heck out of that. It was weird to me to have only like 4 tracks, but I like the arcadey feel of it.
Yeah.
Because my family was actually into NASCAR, so I had a NASCAR game on the Saturn. It was like that one was more realistic, but it was boring compared to what Daytona USA was doing. So I played Daytona USA more. But instead, at number 4, beating Panzer Dragoon by 9 points, here is Virtua Fighter 2.
Okay. All right. I wasn't sure how people would vote for this one, but it's a very cool one. It's interesting because there's a Mega Drive and a 32X version of Virtua Fighter as well. And I think this kind of shows the jump because the 32X version's
ready,
go! But this one's just arcade graphics. That's what it feels like anyway. And that blocking 32-bit art style still looks really good today. Like that hasn't really aged.
It looks really good. And look at the graphical jump from Virtua Fighter 1 to 2. Like it was incredible to see.
Knockout.
Because I played Virtua Fighter was one of those games I had on the Saturn, and I never had 2, but I rented 2. Either rented or played at a friend's house, and just had a blast with it. I even played Virtua Fighter Kids.
And I guess people probably may not be as familiar with the Saturn controller, but it's a 6-button. Mega Drive had that as like a variant, but this is the 4 controller. And it's perfect for fighting games. It's so good for Virtua Fighter. It's great for Vampire Savior and Street Fighter.
Ready,
it feels like it's just sort of made for this kind of game. And it's just so well taken.
It really is. And if memory serves, this is our first fighting game to make a top 10.
Yeah. I was surprised that Street Fighter 2 didn't make it. Like it might in the arcade list, maybe. But,
I think that's where Street Fighter and a lot of Capcom games are going to shine once we do arcade.
Round 4.
But yeah.
I guess the cool difference so far is a lot of fighting games have been like arcade ports rather than... You want to vote for the stuff that you sort of acknowledge with the system rather than acknowledging with the arcade. I think Virtua Fighter is so tied to the Saturn. You think Sega Saturn, you think Virtua Fighter 2. You don't really think arcade is the same.
Yeah, at least in the States. Yeah, that's... I don't think I didn't really have arcades around me as a kid. All right, top 3. John, came in at number 3.
Knockout.
This is difficult.
Round 5. Ready, go!
I hope people have put it in the top 10. I'm pretty certain they have. I'm not certain how many people have played it. Panzer Dragoon Saga, I think, is number 3.
Number 3 is not Panzer Dragoon Saga. At number 3, we have a dark horse here. I did not expect it to do this well.
Shining Force.
Shining Force 3. Shining Force 3 at number 3 with 325 points, beating Virtua Fighter by about 15.
I knew this would be in the top 3. I wasn't sure where to put it. Shining Force 3 is another one that it's really expensive. It's really hard to get hold of. I wasn't sure how many people have actually played this game. But it's just one of the crowning jewels of the Saturn. It's so well made. Anyone who's a fan of ready, strategy RPGs. Anyone who's a fan of that genre should absolutely give this a go. It is one of the greats.
Yeah, I've not played it myself. I've seen the gameplay of it, and it definitely looks of its time. But I remember back in college, people talking about how good Shining Force 3 was. Like it was no good. If you played it, you loved it. It's just how many people actually played it, and that's the tricky part. Ready? This does deserve a re-release, and be nice to see, especially because this was. These are the same devs who went on to make Golden Sun. Like Golden Sun.
This is the Mario Tennis, Mario Golf, Golden Sun developers.
Yeah, most Shining Force games done by them. Knockout. Point. So, it just really cool idea. I'd love to see re-release. I would pick that up in a heartbeat just to finally be able to play it. But yeah, I was very happy to see it.
Yeah, a Saturn Mini would have gone so hard. Like just this top 10 would have made such a cool mini system. But it's not to be apparently.
I'd take the top 20 we have, honestly. I'm excited to talk about the games that didn't quite make the list. But we still have the final 2 to talk about. So, John, what is the number 2 game? Knockout.
It's either Panzer Dragoon Saga or Knights into Dreams.
Round 4.
Mm-hmm.
Ready?
And
go!
I think the people voted for Knights. So let's say number 2 is Panzer Dragoon.
You're correct, Panzer Dragoon Saga, and this is where nothing came close. like from 3 to 10, all relatively within range of each other. Shining Force 3 at 325, Panzer Dragoon Saga at 504 points.
This is genuinely one of the best games ever made, and
I want to play it so much.
That probably sounds like it's hyperbole because it's so expensive. So of course people are biased towards it, but it is so clever. Like we've talked about how Panzer Dragoon has that being able to change which way you're looking at in a rail shooter, and you just take that core mechanic and apply it to a turn-based RPG. So you're still on your dragon, and you're able to shift around your opponent, which takes up time in like the ATB sort of meter. And so you can either attack or you can move. So it's that sort of risk-reward factor of whether you protect yourself to get in a better position or you just attack. It's so well made. And Panzer Dragoon's world's already fascinating, but when you can, get off the dragon and go into a town and walk around, it's taken to another level. It's 4 discs, so like Final Fantasy VII, there's a lot of FMVs in here. It's extremely epic. And it's also not that long. Despite being 4 discs, I want to say it's
Round
like
1.
14 hours or something.
Ready?
Go! Because it's stuff full of cutscenes.
Yeah. Full voice acting too. Yeah, they speak like voice language, but there is acting in there. But yeah, it's super cool. And I wish people can actually play this someday.
It's funny how you regret not paying $300 for a game.
So what's it worth now?
I have no idea. I'd see it at conventions and I'd see $300 and I'd be like,
ready?
I can't justify that. I can't do it. And nowadays, I don't even want to think about how much it costs. So, oh god, according to Data Alpha Lion, $1,700 on eBay.
Oh.
No.
Yeah. But I used to watch Classic Game Room, which is just a YouTube channel, and a lot of the times they review NES games and be like, "Oh, you can get this for $5." And you look at prices now, and it's like $100 for that one game they said was $5. And with Panzer Dragoon Saga, my wife got that for me for my 19th or 20th birthday or something, and she paid, I want to say $180 or something, £180, which is still a lot for one game, but
it's still a lot.
Now is
I mean, at some point, you can put your kids through college by selling that game. It's gonna happen, apparently.
Knockout!
Oh, God. Yeah, American Dragon played $300 for my disc only copy in 2016. That would be a crazy discount. Yeah. And the $300 one I saw actually was in box, had manual. So, God, I screwed up. Anyway, though, that's Panzer Dragoon's Saga. I wasn't sure how well it would do, honestly, because I know it's well loved, and I would put it in the top 10 just because of sheer reputation. But I didn't put it in my top 10 because I never played it, so I can't. Do I definitively say it? I've never played it, so I don't want to put it. John, I think you know what number 1 is.
I think I knew this coming in. Nights into Dreams it's like the most iconic Saturn game. I think everyone who has a Saturn has probably played it. It is really good. Growing up, I didn't fully understand Nights into Dreams. I'd just sort of race through it, get a bad grade, and then keep going. In recent years, though, I've properly come to understand that you're meant to sort of go around in laps, like rather than just trying to race your way through, you're meant to be trying to maximize your score to get a better rank. And playing it that way, where you sort of go past the goal and keep going to get more stuff, I've actually come to appreciate it a lot more. And so this game has actually come around on me a lot. I used to see it as just kind of fine, but I really like Nights now.
You know, it's funny, is I worked the same way, where I didn't quite get Nights. I liked Nights. The vibe of Nights just immediately stuck with me. The 2 different kids he had there. Nights himself, or themself, was, I don't know, something about its posing was always fun to me. I like it acting like it's playing a flute, but there's no flute. I don't know why, but that's such an iconic pose to me that it just, I like Knights. They are just a strange, fun character. But then I could never beat the game because I could never get a high enough rank to get through it. It wasn't until I came back later that I was able to actually play and beat it, because I understood, like you, and once you understand that it is all more about points and not speed, then there's a speed bonus. So I was like, oh, the faster I go, the better points I get. But no, you want to try to mix and match. And yeah, just having that game, it's gorgeous, it's fun. I kind of liked falling out of Nights, like running out of time and falling out of Nights as kids, because then you could explore the world more, but then you get caught. Yeah, it's full 3D. It's like
Round 2
actually there.
Ready?
It's a wild concept for it. I never played Journey of Dreams or Journey of Wii. Yeah, the Wii game. But yeah, Nights into Dreams from the start, it was just took off 737 points compared to Panzer Dragoon's 500. So, yeah.
The game was that Sega era where they had 4, and then they sort of pad it out with other stuff. So like, what is
Round
the kids
3
in between
Ready?
the night levels and things like that. Whereas the Saturn game was very much, okay, you just go from this level to this level, you're flying around. And that was, there's not, at that point, there weren't really any other video games that just let you fly, you know, as a humanoid, like rather than being a plane or something. Like just being able to fly around gracefully. We also had the Saturn controller, which made that a bit easier too.
I got my Nights with that, where it had the analog stick. Massive, but it did feel better to control that way.
Was that the first analog controller? I think it might be. I think it predated the DualShock.
I don't know what year Nights came out.
Knockout!
6, I think.
Round 5.
Yeah, 1996.
Go!
And the N64 I think the N64 came out before this. Before the DualShock.
Oh, it came out like a month before the N64 did. So technically, technically,
wow,
it was the first analog controller.
That's why everybody had the same idea. Analog is the way it's at.
Yeah. But it is a really good game. Extremely whimsical, nothing like it. The only thing you can compare to Nights, I think, in terms of vibe, is something like Balan, but in terms of actual how they play, they're nothing alike.
Nothing. There's just a free flowing, and honestly, great bosses too. The bosses are all fun. You immediately have this rival character with Riala, who's just also another cool design. Nights is very freaky in the Sonic racing games though, because they transform into different ones, but the different car forms.
And shouts out to the demo disc to Christmas Nights. So with the demo disc, it's just a regular demo, but if you play on Christmas or New Year, you get different like themes. It starts snowing, you get Christmas music, you can unlock a 32-bit Sonic model to run around.
Don't worry, Right, Kelly, we've got this. Time to get you onto Sky Mobile. Let's bail. You can chat to someone in Sky anytime, day or night.
What are you doing up here?
Round 1.
Escape to Sky Mobile and Skyfall Fibre, the UK's only major provider with 24/7 switch support.
And with there's a lot of just fun meta stuff in there.
And I believe the version that's available now, that's on Steam, was put on PlayStation 3, does have Christmas lights.
Round 2.
Yeah, that's just an annual game for me. Like whenever it's like Christmas time, I just sort of plug in Christmas nights and have a bit of a fly around.
I mean, it's fun. It is just pure fun. But yeah, that is our top 10. I think it's a pretty solid top 10 overall. Like, I think so. Obviously, there are some ones on here that did not make the list that people, I'm sure, would prefer. I imagine Guardian Heroes fans want to get rid of Sonic Jam, but that's just how it is.
Go!
Yeah, let me actually cover what came close, because I think that like 11 to 20 is just as strong. 11, Guardian Heroes, as I said before. Number 12, only 6 points behind, Fighters Mega Mix.
Cool. This was on my personal list. Such a cool one. It's kind of like Smash Brothers before Smash Brothers, where it's like fighting Viper, Virtua Fighter. But you also get like the Hornet from Daytona USA that you can use to just punch people with its tires. Mega Mix is so cool.
You got Bark the Polar Bear.
Mission accomplished.
Not Sonic or any of the other named characters. No, Bark the Polar Bear, who makes it in the Mega Mix. So that was fun to see that got in. And then, as I said before, Sega Rally Championship at number 13, only 9 points behind Fighters Mega Mix. It was close. They were clawing their way there.
Yeah.
Number 14, 1 point behind, as I mentioned before, Daytona USA. At number 15, 20 points behind, Saturn Bomberman.
Very cool one. You can get so Saturn's got 2 controller ports on the console, but with Saturn Bomberman, you can get 2 multi-taps, maybe 4 multi-taps. But you can get up to, I think, 12 players.
Dang.
Yeah, using a bunch of multi-taps. I'm pretty sure it's 12-player.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
There's so many Bomberman. Why haven't we got a Bomberman collection yet? There's so many Bomberman games out there.
Extremely logical. Yeah, we should.
That's a shame. I was rooting for it. I was like, oh, Saturn Bomberman. That's a cool idea.
It's a cool one, yeah.
At number 16, with 153 points, just missing it by 15, Sakura Wars.
Nice.
Which is extremely impressive, because this is very much still Japanese only.
Yes, I have it. I've got it over there, but obviously it's Japanese only, so I can't understand it. There are fan translations, but yeah, very, very cool one. The only Sakura Wars game I've actually properly played is the PS4 one, because it's so rare that we actually play them over here.
I own that, but I have not had a chance to play it. I've heard it's not a strategy game like the others, but I heard it's still good.
Knockout!
At number 17, only 6 points behind, X-Men versus Street Fighter.
I was thinking a few Capcom fighters would show up. This is a very good console for fighters, especially with imports. But yeah, there's a lot. I think that will probably keep showing up as the list goes on.
Oh yeah, for sure. Number 18, 6 points behind that, Sonic 3D Blast.
Round 3.
It's a cool version.
Ready, go!
I'm honestly, I'm surprised that I was expecting Sonic fans to push that over Sonic Jam, but no, Sonic Jam won it.
Yeah, I mean, this one's got its own soundtrack. There's like fully 3D special stages. It's the half pipe from Sonic 2, apart from it's properly 3D, so you can actually enjoy it. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I had it on Genesis, but it was never my favorite. It was interesting, but yeah. Number 19, I was pulling for this
Mission accomplished.
Very cool. Yeah. Is this one that you associate with PlayStation, or
I never played it. I still haven't played it yet. I have the HD collection, but I've not played through it. But I always heard Grandia in relation to the Saturn over the PlayStation personally.
I mean, this is something that you and I have spoken about before, that a lot of games like originated on the Saturn, like Tomb Raider came out on the Saturn before PlayStation. But no one, like, when you think PlayStation, you think Tomb Raider. No one's really thinking Saturn and Tomb Raider. So that's something I sort of had in mind when crafting my own list. Like, Tomb Raider may have like originated on the Saturn, but do I actually see it as a Saturn game? Not so much.
Not really. So I can see people seeing this as more of a Saturn game because it's people just I think associate Grandia with Saturn because they feel it's the better version. I don't know for sure. I don't know what the differences are. But yeah. Then at number 20, only 1 point behind, Dragon Force.
Cool. Very cool.
Which I believe, is that a beat 'em up? What is that? What type of game is that?
It's been a while since I had it, and
It's
it's
an
somehow
RTS.
scraping my mind.
It's a real-time strategy RPG.
Yes.
So that's impressive.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, extremely solid top 20. But also getting into what we were talking about before with associations. 21 Mega Man X4, 22 Mega Man 8, and 22 Castlevania Symphony of the Night.
Yeah.
All games that are excellent. I'll have to decide on if they're going to make my top PlayStation list because that's the thing. I associate them more with PlayStation. I think it's because a lot of these are Japanese exclusive.
Right. Yeah. Saturn also got Resident Evil. It got a bunch of PlayStation.
And there were a few votes for that.
Yeah. There's a lot of big PlayStation games that weren't actually exclusive to PlayStation in the end. Like Rayman debuted on the Atari Jaguar. Final Fantasy VII was multi-platform with PC. Like there's when you like think about it, a lot of the biggest games were they were available elsewhere, but we just sort of associate them with PlayStation.
Yeah, it's just because I think that's just how most, at least Americans, played it.
That's how most of us played it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure about Europe, so I didn't want to say.
I'm pretty sure that's true most places.
Round one.
Saturn was pretty popular in Japan.
Go!
It's mildly popular, but PlayStation still just dominated everywhere.
I remember PlayStation. I think PlayStation was like the biggest in Europe almost. Like
yeah, I think that's true.
Excellent.
But to round out the top 30, just to go
round two.
24.
Ready?
Because Mega Man 8 and Castlevania both actually tied at 112 points. It's actually kind of crazy. 24. Magic Knight Rayearth. Which was a bit of a
excellent
there. 25. Bulk Slash. Then we had a three-way tie for 26.
Ready?
With Virtual Orange Lightsabers, Fighting Vipers, and Shining the Holy Ark. Then at 29, Clockwork Knight.
Excellent.
30. Yep, and 30 Princess Crown, which is Proto Vanillaware. This is the name Vanillaware.
Wow, it was ridiculous.
Becoming Vanillaware officially. So because it was published by Atlas in that case. So, and then just for fun, 31 was Devil Summoner Soul Hackers. 32 was Christmas Nights. And so forth. So that'll be just the major ones I'll cover for now. But that's the ones that made the definite high list there. I just was like, oh wow, Shin Megami Tensei game was almost up there despite being Japanese only. Yeah. Although I did get, I think, a DS or 3DS port.
It's a shame not to see the rail shooters here, like Virtua Cop or House of the Dead. But
Virtua Cop 2 was actually right after Christmas Night. So
okay, that's cool. All right, yeah, that deserves it.
As far as what was the other one? The House of the Dead. House of the
Round
Dead.
one.
Yeah, the Saturn version isn't that great.
Go!
On Dreamcast, though, House of the Dead 2. Oh, that's exactly what live audience is saying right now. If House of the Dead 2 isn't on the Dreamcast list, we have failed everybody.
Die Hard Arcade did okay. It got 48 points, but came behind Sakura Wars 2. And then our next arcade perfect fighting game that came out from Capcom was actually Vampire Savior, just beating out Street Fighter Alpha 2. So it's an interesting list. It's a fascinating list with the Saturn, but obviously there's everyone's gonna have their opinions about what should be there. But I think overall pretty solid for Sega Saturn.
It's good. Very good. If you explore, more internationally, to the Japanese side, then there's definitely some shortcomings. But I think in terms of what most Western people played, it's a very good list.
Yeah, very much so.
Round 3.
Release a bunch of shit.
Ready?
That's
go!
what it comes down to. But yeah, that is our Saturn list, and John, we are I think this next one might surpass the Super Nintendo.
Knockout.
Because our next top 10 games of all time is going to be the
Round 4.
PlayStation 1.
Ready?
Yes. How many of these will be RPGs? We shall see.
This is going to be brutal to go through. Good God.
Yeah, I mean, I joke about that, but there's so many genres on PlayStation. When you look at something like N64,
Knockout.
you've got like a game per genre in some cases. Like we look at RPGs, everyone plays Quest 64. With PlayStation, everything is filled. It has way more than
Wow,
that.
it was ridiculous.
It's the Wild West. It's so hard to predict where people are going to go.
You've got Mega Man, you got Castlevania, you got Ape Escape, you got Crash, you got Spyro, you've got Metal Gear Solid, you've got the Final Fantasies, you've got the other Squaresoft RPGs, you got...
It's endless. It's endless.
It's so many.
Yeah.
So many out there. It is... I'll be honest, I have no idea what's going to be number one. I'm going to predict right now that it's either going to be Metal Gear Solid or Final Fantasy VII.
Symphony of the Night's also a very strong candidate.
It is. It is.
And in our ideal world, Mega Man Legends is number 1 too.
I know.
It won't be, but it should be.
It won't be. I'll be voting for it. I can tell you that right now. Oh God. This is going to be a rough one for me to count. I can tell you that right now, but we're going to do it. So
yeah.
Oh God.
I'm already struggling.
Oh yeah, Silent Hill. God, I forgot about Silent Hill, Resident Evil.
It's almost impossible to make a list you're satisfied with. I'm going to draft mine out.
Nobody's going to be satisfied with this. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be satisfied with my own list.
No, I'm going to draft mine out, and then I'm going to just take it all away a couple of times until I finally just post it. But yeah, I can't even formulate what my favorite PlayStation game is right now.
I couldn't tell you. Hey, I had a mention of Crash, Zelda, Caitlin. But yeah, we'll have to see what that's like next week. But for now, that is our top 10s for the Sega Game Gear and Sega Saturn. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this. I know it's not quite as the popular systems, but I appreciate you all watching nonetheless. And if you enjoyed this video, please consider supporting us on Patreon at patreon.com/gbgaming. But even just subscribing to the channel and ringing that bell helps us a ton. So until next time, bye.
It's now free to sell on eBay. eBay, things people love.
You read the title right, my friends. You are about to see the very best of the Sega Dreamcast, at least according to old Sega Lord X here. We are breaking down the library into categories and then naming one runner-up and one winner for each one. I'm skipping all the honorable mentions and sticking directly with what I consider to be the cream of the crop. We have over a dozen categories to go over, so let's get started. We begin with the puzzle genre, which like most consoles was fairly well represented on the Dreamcast. The runner-up in this category is Puyo Pop Fever. This was a Japanese-only release handled entirely by Sega and Sonic Team. The core game is similar to the other entries, but it now has the new Fever mode, which allows you new attack chains that really make the versus gameplay interesting. It looks great for a title like this, and it supports 2 players. The original game was a Naomi arcade release, so the Dreamcast version is spot on with that source material. It did make its way west for numerous other consoles, including handhelds like the Nintendo DS. But this category just wouldn't be properly represented on a Sega console without Columns in the top spot. Hanagumi Taisen Columns 2 is a sequel to the original STV Titan-powered release that was brought home to the Sega Saturn. As before, it uses a Sakura Wars theme to drive the story and interactions, while keeping the familiar Columns gameplay mechanics. It looks great, sounds good, and has a fan translation so you know what the heck is going on. Aside from the story mode, you can also play a competitive 2-player option and a more traditional arcade-style endless mode. I highly recommend you give it a look if you enjoy this game world. There are multiple characters to choose from, and the replay value is quite a bit improved over the standard Columns experience. First and third person shooters were still in their early days when the Dreamcast was on the market. That didn't mean there weren't any good ones, however. Our runner-up in this category is the port of Quake 3, an immensely fun competitive first-person shooter that had groups of combatants murdering one another in small arenas. There's a bunch of weapons to choose to get the job done, and there are multiple game types, like Capture the Flag and Team Deathmatch. The best part is, this supported 4-player couch co-op, so you can play together with your friends. There was even a few stages that were exclusive to this release. Break out the keyboard and mouse if you really want to kick some butt. There are, of course, better ways to play this one today, but I must confess that it's still one of the better games for the Dreamcast in this genre. The absolute best in this category is AM2's Outrigger, however. This one allows both first and third person modes. The single player has missions you must complete, while the competitive options support as many as 4 players via split screen. It also uses the mouse and keyboard for a more accurate experience. It was originally a Naomi-based arcade game, so the conversion here is top-tier stuff if you played it there first. It's a bit different from Quake 3 in its ilk because you have different characters with unique abilities. This adds quite a bit of variety to the typical repetition these games usually suffer from. The Dreamcast also remains the only way to play this on a home console. In this category, we are looking for the very best racing game on the Dreamcast. The platform was not weak in this genre, so this was a tough one. Based on its raw fun factor, I have to go with Hydro Thunder as my runner-up. Released on the launch day 9/9/99, this was a port of the classic Midway arcade title. You'll find no realism here. It's full of nitros, massive jumps, and completely fantastical courses. You won't care at all because the gameplay is a pure joy to behold. It's even better with 2 players. At its original release, this was the best way to play this game. It looked and ran so much better than the other console options, and it still looks great today. When I think of the best Dreamcast racer, though, I have to go with Metropolis Street Racer by Bizarre Creations. Lots of real-world cars and locations here, on top of graphics and sound that were just incredible in its day. Its gameplay is built on the Kudos system, which is basically a reward for driving well and completing challenges. Tracks can be raced at different times of the day, and the replay system is absolutely beautiful. There's a lot of great racers on the Dreamcast, but this is the total package and a game that everyone needs to play.
Is this a dream?
The sports category is a broad and well-stocked area on the Dreamcast, so much so that our runner-up is a wrestling game of all things. Released in June of 1999, Giant Graham 2000, All Japan Pro Wrestling 2 is easily
Round
the
one.
best wrestling game on the
Ready,
Dreamcast.
go!
It looks great, has a killer roster of legendary grapplers, and the gameplay is deep and varied. It was a port of the Naomi-powered arcade version and then ported by WoW Entertainment to the Dreamcast. Even if you don't follow classic Japanese wrestling, you'll still recognize the likes of Big Van Vader and Stan Hansen. Not to mention there are some Virtua Fighter guys in there as well. Part 3 to this series is also fantastic. But our winner in this category is the juggernaut that was NFL 2K2. This series was Sega's big sports redemption story after its abysmal treatment of the Saturn. Visual Concepts developed a fantastic follow-up to its previous 2K games, nailing the presentation, commentary, visuals, and gameplay. This series took NFL football on a Sega platform from a joke to a franchise that gave the Madden games all they could handle. 2K Sports also did decent basketball titles, but when it came to the top of the line, this one sits all alone on a mountain of greatness.
28. You can't get that. Knockout. Baby. Round 3. Ready, go!
The 49ers.
The adventure genre spans a lot of different games. The variety really is something to consider because most of us have very different tastes here. For my runner-up, I chose Shenmue for its vast world, great story, and interesting characters. This is a tale of revenge in your journey to find the man who killed your father. It's not easy to get into, and the gameplay can present some frustration. But overall, it's still a one-of-a-kind adventure on the Dreamcast. It's one of those titles where you can get lost in just playing games and doing side missions for different characters, just exploring every nook and cranny. The second one is a better game, but this one is fully in English and is a mandatory starting point to this fantastic journey. When it comes to the best of the adventure genre though, Code Veronica is in a league of its own. This was released by Capcom in 2000. A continuation of the Resident Evil series. You start off on a creepy island filled with all sorts of crazy characters and creatures, but you'll end up in Antarctica before it's all over with. The outstanding visuals are only matched by its excellent gameplay and story, one of the best that series has ever offered. This was really the first time Resident Evil ventured into the realm of 3D environments, and that alone created an atmosphere and a setting you really appreciated. Gone are those flat, lifeless, two-dimensional backgrounds, now replaced by sweeping camera angles that allow you to see things around you in an all-new light. There's been ports since, but it started right here, and it's still as awesome as ever.
There's no way he could get here, even if he is your brother.
Yes, he can. I'm sure of it.
No way. He won't come. You'll just end up disappointed if you rely on others. Believe me, I know.
What was that all about?
The Dreamcast is often considered weak in the RPG department, but I'm actually quite fond of a number of titles.
When it comes to meal times, there's good. Then there's Goodfellas. Signature sauces and individual balls of dough.
Good.
There's good. Then there's Goodfellas good.
How did that hit me? I thought I was garden. Apparently not. Nah, I should probably go back to bread. Either that or I'll have to go grab my arcade stick, and I'm not doing that. So I should just play bread.
Round one. Ready, go!
John is back a lot. Yeah, I've only played him a few times in this version. I'm not sure what I was doing playing that character for so long. He doesn't seem to suit me as well as other characters.
Round two. Ready, go!
Brad has more. Well, I'm not sure. Yeah, John is string heavy. I like hit confirms, but Brad also has hit confirms.
Ring out.
Brad also has like better punishment. John's punishment is not great. Outside of he can get 6K, but if he doesn't get 6K, he's not getting much. And I'm not really like a guessy kind of player, so picking a guess heavy character doesn't make much sense.
Round four. Ready, go! Knockout!
あなたにはクンフーが足りないわ。
Yeah, I picked John for a while, but I can play most of the characters in the game. So switching it up isn't a big deal. Like, I started with Go.
Knockout!
If I really sit down and think about it, it's like a week to learn the character.
Go!
Lau's much better in this version. You might wanna look into it.
Knockout! Round three. Ready, go! Knockout!
My thoughts on R.E.V.O? He's good. I put him at like mid tier in this version. I think he was low tier in the previous version. I put him at mid tier now, due to nerfs from other characters and buffs for him. Yeah, poor punishment. His guard break didn't lead to anything at all in the previous version. He's missing kind of like some fundamentals. His throw game is better now since it does a little bit more damage.
I'll show you what combat's all about.
Imagine doing like landing guard break with R.E.V.O and you get like nothing.
Round
you don't
one.
even get K plus G.
Ready, go!
Brad kind of got like a collection of like nerfs and buffs, but I think in this version of the game, one, I think he's better with lower input lag, and this version of the game has less input lag across the board. so that helps. And he just kind of got like some new tricks, but he's mostly the same.
Round 2. Ready, go! Knockout! Round 3. Ready, go!
The meal times, there's good. Then
Knockout! Round 4. Ready, go!
signature sauces are individual balls of there's good. Then there's Goodfellas good.
Knockout! Round 5. Ready, go! Knockout!
Snap at the neck. Alright. We go in. We grab the grenade. Lightwing Dragon! Good to see you. How's it going?
I'll give it 100%. Round 1. Ready, go!
Just playing EU exclusive. Really good game, I'd say. Snap the neck.
Knockout!
We gotta save stun this because
Round 2. Ready,
turning
go!